Every morning when your eyes open, you are given another chance to live, another chance to make a difference, another chance to step into the life you say you want. Yet too many people wake up as if the day owes them something, as if simply existing is enough. They drag themselves out of bed, they shuffle through routines without fire, without direction, without even recognizing the blessing that the day truly is. Life doesn't guarantee you tomorrow. The very fact that you woke up today means you've been trusted with time, and time is the most valuable resource you'll ever have. It's not money, not possessions, not status. Time. Once it's gone, it never returns. So when you wake up in the morning, you better wake up with purpose, because that is the only way you honor the gift you've been given. Purpose isn't about being busy, it's about being intentional. Anyone can fill their hours with noise, distractions, and meaningless activity. But when you wake up with purpose, you start to direct your energy towards something bigger, something that fuels you and pushes you forward. Purpose is what separates the people who are just surviving from the people who are truly living. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Without it, life feels empty, repetitive, and heavy. With it, every challenge becomes a stepping stone, every obstacle becomes an opportunity, and every morning becomes a blessing you refuse to waste. Think about how many people never got the chance to see today. Think about how many left this world with dreams still in their hearts, with goals still unfulfilled, with words never spoken. And yet you're here, breathing, alive, standing on a fresh page that has not been written yet. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Will you treat it like another ordinary day, or will you rise with gratitude, discipline, and focus to make it extraordinary? Because the truth is, life is not about how many years you live. It's about how you live the years you are given. Waking up with purpose is how you squeeze the most out of every moment, how you ensure that when your head hits the pillow at night, you know you didn't waste the chance. Purpose makes you get out of bed when comfort tells you to sleep. Purpose makes you take that extra step when the world tells you to quit. Purpose makes you keep moving forward when failure tries to hold you back. It gives meaning to the grind, it gives power to persistence, it gives clarity when life gets blurry. And when you see every single day as a gift, you stop waiting for someday and start living this day. You stop complaining about what you don't have and start appreciating what you do. You stop allowing excuses to run your life and start taking ownership of the time you've been given. When you open your eyes in the morning, it's easy to forget how fragile life really is. It's easy to take the rising of the sun for granted, to treat the air in your lungs as if it's guaranteed, to believe you're owed another 24 hours just because yesterday gave you one. But the truth is, every single day you wake up is a gift, not a guarantee. Too many people move through life without realizing how extraordinary that simple fact is. They complain about their problems before they even get out of bed. They scroll through their phones before they even thank life for another chance. And they waste the first precious hours of their day with no thought about how much of a miracle it is to even be alive. When you begin to see the morning as a gift, everything changes. That shift in perspective gives weight to every decision you make, every word you speak, and every action you take. You stop living on autopilot and start living with awareness. You stop letting time slip through your fingers unnoticed and begin to hold onto it with both hands, determined not to waste what can never be replaced. Imagine for a moment how quickly life can change. One phone call, one accident, one heartbeat, and everything you know can be taken away. Yet here you are, standing in a new day, given another opportunity to breathe, to create, to love, to work, to grow. Recognizing that truth is the foundation of living a life that matters. People who treat every day as a gift don't waste mornings under the weight of excuses. They don't wake up thinking about what's missing. They wake up grateful for what's present. Gratitude becomes their lens, and through it, they see possibilities where others see problems. They understand that no matter how difficult life is, there is still a reason to keep going, because the gift of a new day means there is still a chance to change, still a chance to improve, still a chance to live out what was left undone yesterday. This mindset fuels resilience, because even when challenges come, the awareness of life's fragility keeps them moving forward. Think about how many people never opened their eyes this morning. Think about the families grieving because someone's tomorrow never arrived. The reality is harsh, but it's also the reason to stop wasting time. When you realize how short and unpredictable life is, you stop delaying dreams for the perfect time. You stop saying someday and start acting today. You stop pushing your goals to the side and start recognizing that if you have breath in your lungs and strength in your body, there is no excuse not to use them. That's what it means to recognize every morning as a gift. It's to understand that life is loaning you another day, and what you do with it is your responsibility. Living this way creates urgency, but not the panicked kind that burns you out. It's the urgency of knowing your time is precious and should not be wasted on things that don't serve your growth or your purpose. You begin to cut out the noise, the negativity, the distractions that rob you of the beauty of the day. Instead, you become intentional with your focus. You give your energy to what truly matters: your health, your relationships, your vision, your contribution to the world. You no longer wake up dreading the day. You wake up determined to squeeze the most out of it, because you understand that every sunrise is an invitation to write another page in your story. Even the smallest things start to take on deeper meaning when you carry this perspective. A conversation with a loved one feels like more than just words. It's a connection you may never get to repeat. A walk in the fresh air feels like more than just exercise. It's a moment to appreciate the body and the world you've been given. Even the struggles you face feel less like burdens and more like opportunities. Because if you're still here to fight through them, then life hasn't finished with you yet. Recognizing the gift of each morning doesn't mean ignoring the pain or the challenges. It means realizing that as long as you're alive, you still have the chance to overcome them. Too many people live as if they have unlimited time, as if life is waiting for them to finally wake up and start caring. But time doesn't wait, and every wasted day is one you can never get back. That's why the first thought you allow into your mind when you wake up is so important. If it's a thought of gratitude, of awareness, of purpose, it sets the tone for everything that follows. It reminds you that your very existence in that moment is proof that you still have something to contribute, something to experience, something to pursue. If your first thought is complaint, resentment, or indifference, then you're wasting the very gift you've been given before the day even starts. When you recognize every morning as a gift, you no longer move through life asleep. You no longer coast through routines without intention. You no longer let comfort dictate your choices. You start to rise with energy, with discipline, with passion for the opportunity you've been granted. You may not control what the day brings, but you control how you show up to meet it. That shift in mindset creates momentum, and momentum creates transformation. It's not about waiting for big moments to prove that life is valuable. It's about realizing that the small, ordinary act of waking up is already the biggest proof of all. Waking up with gratitude before you chase goals is the foundation of living a life that actually feels fulfilling. Too often, people leap straight into the grind, rushing through their mornings, filling their minds with tasks, deadlines, and worries before they've even taken a moment to acknowledge the simple blessing of being alive. They treat gratitude as optional, as something nice to practice when things are going well. But the truth is, gratitude must come first, because it is gratitude that gives meaning to your ambition. Without gratitude, goals become an endless chase, a pursuit that leaves you empty no matter how much you achieve. With gratitude, even the smallest step forward feels like progress. Even the smallest win feels like abundance. Gratitude shifts your perspective from lack to abundance. It forces you to recognize what you already have instead of being consumed by what you don't. So many people wake up in the morning already stressed, already thinking about bills, about problems, about everything they think is missing from their lives. They compare themselves to others, they focus on their failures, and they forget that the very act of opening their eyes is proof that they've been given another chance to keep moving. Gratitude grounds you in reality, reminding you that life itself is enough reason to rise with energy. Once you anchor yourself in gratitude, your goals no longer come from desperation, they come from inspiration. You don't chase them because you feel empty, you pursue them because you're full of life and eager to see how much further you can go. Think about how different the day feels when it begins with appreciation. Instead of complaining about what you lack, You acknowledge the roof over your head, the food on your table, the people in your life, the strength in your body. That awareness changes your energy. It makes you calmer, stronger, more centered. When you step into your goals from a place of gratitude, you're not running from fear or scarcity. You're building from abundance. It's the difference between chasing success because you're terrified of failure and pursuing growth because you're excited about the possibilities. One creates anxiety, the other creates confidence. One drains you, the other fuels you. Gratitude also keeps you present. Too many people live only in the future, waiting for the day when they'll finally feel happy once they've achieved something. But happiness delayed is happiness denied. Gratitude forces you to pause, to notice, to feel joy in the now. It doesn't mean you stop striving. It means you don't miss the beauty of the journey while you're striving. Without gratitude, you can achieve your biggest goal and still feel empty because you never learned to appreciate the process. With gratitude, even the setbacks become valuable because you can still find lessons, strength, and growth in them. There's also a deep connection between gratitude and resilience. Life will throw challenges at you. There will be mornings when things don't go your way, when you feel weighed down by stress, when you question whether it's worth it. If your mind is only trained to focus on what's missing, those challenges will crush you. But if you've trained yourself to be grateful first, you'll always find a reason to keep moving. Gratitude becomes your anchor in the storm. It reminds you that even in the hardest times, there is still something worth fighting for. There is still something good in your life. There is still a reason to keep going. That strength makes your pursuit of goals sustainable because you're not chasing out of emptiness. You're building from a foundation of thankfulness. People who live with gratitude carry a different energy. You can see it in how they walk, how they talk, how they work. They aren't bitter. They aren't constantly comparing themselves. They aren't angry at the success of others. They celebrate, they uplift, they radiate positivity because they know that someone else's win doesn't take away their blessings. That mindset not only fuels their own progress, but also attracts opportunities and people who want to be around that kind of energy. Gratitude is magnetic, and it multiplies what you already have. Even when it comes to goals, gratitude makes you sharper. Instead of being overwhelmed by how far you have to go, you become motivated by how far you've already come. You stop minimizing your progress and start recognizing it. That recognition builds confidence, and confidence builds momentum. Without gratitude, you'll always feel behind, always feel like you're failing, no matter how much you accomplish. With gratitude, you recognize the journey, and that recognition pushes you to keep climbing higher. Gratitude also helps you to realign your goals with what actually matters. Sometimes we chase things not because they fulfill us, but because we think they'll impress others. We want the validation, the approval, the recognition. But when you take time to be grateful first, you're reminded of what's truly valuable: health, peace, love, purpose, growth. That clarity strips away the superficial and keeps you focused on goals that actually bring fulfillment, not just attention. It saves you from climbing ladders that lead nowhere and keeps you climbing in the direction of meaning. Every morning is an opportunity to set the tone. If you rush straight into the grind without grounding yourself in gratitude, you risk spending your entire day operating from stress, from lack, from dissatisfaction. But if you wake up and take even a few moments to acknowledge your blessings, you set a foundation of strength and abundance. From that place, your goals become more than tasks. They become expressions of thankfulness. You start to see your work as a way of honoring the life you've been given. You start to approach challenges not as punishments, but as chances to grow. You start to live with a deeper sense of fulfillment because you're not waiting for achievements to feel joy. You're bringing joy with you into everything you do. Purpose gives direction, not just activity, and this is one of the most important distinctions you can ever make in your life. So many people are busy, but few are purposeful. You can spend an entire day running from one task to another, answering calls, responding to emails, ticking off boxes on a checklist, and still go to bed feeling empty, feeling like nothing you did actually mattered. That's because activity doesn't equal meaning. You can fill your hours with movement, but if that movement isn't aligned with something bigger than yourself, you're just spinning in circles. Purpose is the compass that takes all that energy, all that motion, and gives it direction. Without it, you're a ship tossed in the waves, moving but never truly arriving. With it, you're guided, steady, intentional, and every step you take is part of a larger journey. Purpose acts like the North Star of your life. It doesn't remove the storms, but it makes sure you don't lose your way in them. Too many people confuse productivity with purpose. They think if they're busy, they're progressing. But progress is not about how much you do. It's about how much of what you do actually aligns with where you want to go and who you want to become. A person can run on a treadmill for hours and never leave the room. That's what life looks like without purpose. Lots of effort, no direction. But when you find your why, every step takes you somewhere. Every action builds towards something greater. Every sacrifice carries meaning. When you live with purpose, your priorities shift. You stop wasting energy on things that don't contribute to your vision. You stop saying yes to everything just to stay busy. And you start saying yes only to the things that pull you closer to your goals. This doesn't mean life becomes easier. It means life becomes clearer. You know where your focus belongs, so distractions lose their power. You no longer measure your worth by how much you can cram into a day, but by how much of that day reflects your true calling. That's the difference between chasing busyness and embracing purpose. Purpose also fuels perseverance. When you know why you're doing something, you'll endure hardships others would quit over. Think about it. The person who goes to the gym just to look good will quit when it gets too hard. But the person who goes because they want to live long enough to see their children grow, that person keeps pushing. Purpose gives meaning to the grind, and meaning gives power to persistence. The reason so many people give up halfway through their journey is because they never connected their actions to a deeper reason. They wanted results, but they didn't have a why strong enough to keep them moving when results didn't come quickly. Activity without purpose burns you out. Activity with purpose builds you up. And purpose doesn't just affect big goals, it transforms the small moments too. Conversation becomes more than words when it's tied to your purpose. Work becomes more than a paycheck when it's tied to your purpose. Even the challenges become more than pain when they're tied to your purpose. That connection elevates everything. It gives life weight, depth, and significance. It ensures that you're not just going through the motions, but that you're living intentionally. Without purpose, life feels repetitive, like an endless cycle of waking, working, eating, sleeping. With purpose, every day feels like another step in a meaningful story, even if the steps are small. Too many people wait for purpose to appear magically. They think one day they'll wake up, and everything will suddenly make sense. But purpose is discovered through reflection, through trial, through paying attention to what stirs your heart, what breaks your heart, what excites you, what calls you to rise. It's not always loud, sometimes it's quiet, but it's always there if you're willing to listen. Once you find it, it becomes your fuel. It doesn't mean life stops being hard, but it does mean life stops feeling pointless. The danger of living without purpose is that you'll spend your life chasing goals that don't fulfill you. You'll achieve things that look impressive to others but feel hollow to you. You'll climb ladders only to realize they were leaning against the wrong walls. Purpose protects you from that trap. It ensures that the direction you're heading in matches the life you actually want, not the life the world pressures you to pursue. It strips away the noise and forces you to ask, is what I'm doing today leading me where I want to go tomorrow? Purpose also connects you to others. People with purpose inspire because they radiate clarity. They aren't just drifting through life. They're living with intention, and that energy is contagious. Purpose-driven people don't waste time tearing others down because they're too busy building what matters. They don't envy others' paths because they know their own direction. They attract people, opportunities, and growth because clarity has a way of opening doors. Purpose doesn't just give you direction. It gives others a reason to walk with you on the journey. Think about the power of waking up each day knowing what you're moving toward. It doesn't mean you'll have every detail figured out, but it does mean you'll never confuse movement with progress again. You'll no longer celebrate being busy. You'll celebrate being aligned. You'll no longer look back on your days wondering what it was all for. You'll know exactly why you did what you did. That level of clarity makes even the hardest days worthwhile, because even pain feels different when it has purpose. Struggle without meaning crushes you. Struggle with meaning strengthens you. Living with purpose is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters. It's not about running faster, it's about running in the right direction. It's not about filling your schedule, it's about filling your soul. Purpose transforms how you see your time, how you see your work, how you see your life. It makes sure that when you reach the end, you don't look back with regret about all the days you wasted on empty activity. Instead, you look back knowing that you lived with intention, that your actions had weight, that your direction was true. Discipline turns daily routines into powerful habits, and habits are what shape the course of your life. Motivation may get you started, but it's discipline that keeps you moving when the excitement wears off, when the road feels long, when the results don't show up as quickly as you hoped. Too many people wait for motivation before they act, not realizing that motivation is fleeting, unreliable, and often absent on the days you need it most. Discipline is different. Discipline doesn't ask you how you feel. It doesn't wait for the right mood or the perfect timing. Discipline shows up every day and demands consistency, and consistency is what turns ordinary actions into extraordinary results. When you understand the power of discipline, you stop treating routines like boring obligations and start seeing them as the structure that builds greatness. Success in any area of life doesn't come from one big action. It comes from small actions repeated daily until they become second nature. It's brushing your teeth not once, but every morning and night. It's saving money not once, but every paycheck. It's exercising not once, but day after day until strength builds. Discipline makes sure those routines don't stay fragile choices but solid habits. Habits so ingrained that you do them even when you don't want to, even when no one is watching, even when the easier choice is calling your name. Discipline removes the need for endless decision making. Without discipline, you wake up every morning negotiating with yourself. Should I go to the gym today? Should I work on my goals or waste time scrolling? Should I eat clean or grab junk food? That constant debate drains your willpower, and most days you'll take the easy way out. But with discipline, those decisions are already made. You don't ask yourself if you're going to show up. You just show up. It becomes automatic. And that automation is what frees you from procrastination. The beauty of discipline is that it doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you trustworthy to yourself. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, you build confidence. You stop doubting yourself because you have evidence that you keep your promises. On the other hand, every time you break your word to yourself, you weaken that trust and make it harder to believe in your own potential. Discipline restores that trust. It reminds you that your word matters, especially when it's to yourself. And when you believe in yourself, there is no limit to what you can build. Daily routines under discipline become rituals of growth. Waking up early becomes more than just a time on the clock. It becomes a declaration that you control your day instead of letting the day control you. Reading every night becomes more than turning pages. It becomes feeding your mind with wisdom. Exercising becomes more than lifting weights. It becomes investing in the body that carries you through life. Working on your goals becomes more than effort. It becomes proof that you are building your future deliberately. The routine might look simple from the outside, but discipline turns it into the foundation of transformation. What separates the great from the average is not talent, it's discipline. Talent can open doors, but discipline keeps them open. Talent can give you a head start, but discipline is what determines whether you finish the race. Discipline is what makes the student study when others are partying, the athlete practice when others are resting, the entrepreneur grind when others are quitting. It's what makes the difference between potential and reality. You can dream as big as you want, but without discipline, those dreams remain ideas. With discipline, those ideas become results. There's a hidden truth about discipline that most people overlook. It actually creates freedom. At first glance, discipline looks like restriction. You give up the comfort of sleeping in, the pleasure of indulgence, the ease of laziness. But in reality, discipline frees you from the chains of regret, from the burden of wasted time, from the pain of unfulfilled potential. The person who disciplines themselves to eat clean enjoys the freedom of health. The person who disciplines themselves to save money enjoys the freedom of financial security. The person who disciplines themselves to work on their goals enjoys the freedom of living with purpose. What feels like sacrifice in the moment becomes liberation in the long run. The challenge with discipline is that it rarely gives you immediate gratification. Comfort does, laziness does, distraction does. Discipline asks you to delay the reward, to push through discomfort, to stay consistent when results are invisible. That's why so many people abandon it. They can't see the payoff yet, but habits are like seeds. You don't plant them today and expect a forest tomorrow. You water them daily, protect them daily, and over time they grow into something unshakable. Discipline is the watering, the protecting, the nurturing that turns those fragile beginnings into permanent strength. Think about the routines in your own life. Without discipline, they fall apart the moment you get tired, distracted, or discouraged. But with discipline, they solidify into habits so strong they define who you are. You no longer just exercise. You are someone who doesn't miss workouts. You no longer just save. You are someone who manages money wisely. You no longer just read. You are someone who values growth. Discipline takes the action and fuses it with your identity until it becomes inseparable. That's the true power of discipline. It not only changes what you do, it changes who you become. And perhaps the most empowering thing about discipline is that it doesn't depend on talent, luck, or circumstances. Anyone can practice it. It doesn't matter where you start, how much you know, or what obstacles stand in your way. If you can commit to showing up every day, if you can push through the resistance of comfort and stay consistent with your routines, discipline will build the habits that build the life you want. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, and it doesn't always feel good, but it works. And over time, as those routines become habits and those habits become your lifestyle, you'll look back and realize that discipline was never about restriction. It was about unlocking your true potential. Living with intention transforms ordinary days into extraordinary ones, because intention is what gives shape, meaning, and focus to everything you do. Most people drift through life on autopilot, waking up, going through routines, handling responsibilities, and repeating the same cycle without ever questioning if their actions align with what they truly want. They get lost in the busyness of survival, so much so that entire weeks, months, even years slip by without them ever feeling like they actually lived. Intention changes that. Intention is the conscious choice to direct your time and energy toward what matters most, to live deliberately instead of accidentally, to make sure that the way you spend your days reflects the kind of life you want to build. When you live without intention, your days blend together and everything feels ordinary. But when you live with intention, even simple actions carry weight. Drinking a glass of water in the morning isn't just hydration, it's you taking care of your body. Spending time with your family isn't just passing the hours, it's you investing in the relationships that matter most. Working toward your goals isn't just grinding through tasks, it's you building your future step by step. Intention turns every act into a choice that aligns with your vision, and that alignment is what transforms the ordinary into something extraordinary. The power of intention lies in awareness. Too many people operate in a fog, distracted by noise, consumed by comparison, pulled in different directions by external pressures. They say yes to things they don't care about. They waste energy on negativity. They chase goals that don't belong to them. Living with intention cuts through that fog. It forces you to pause and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Does this bring me closer to the person I want to be? Does this align with my values, my priorities, my vision? When the answer is yes, the action becomes purposeful. When the answer is no, you have the clarity to let it go. That kind of awareness reshapes your entire life, because you stop living on default and start living on design. Intention also gives you the power to slow down and appreciate the present moment. In a world that glorifies hustle, it's easy to spend every day racing toward the next milestone, constantly reaching but never arriving. The danger of this mindset is that you miss the beauty of now. Intention pulls you back into the present. It allows you to savor your coffee instead of gulping it down mindlessly, to listen deeply when someone speaks instead of thinking about your response, to find joy in small victories instead of waiting for big achievements. The extraordinary isn't hidden in faraway moments. It's hidden in the ordinary, waiting to be uncovered by those who live with intention. Living with intention doesn't mean living a life free of challenges. What it does mean is that even challenges have meaning. When you face setbacks intentionally, you no longer see them as wasted pain, but as opportunities to grow. You no longer let difficulties break you down without reason. You extract lessons, build resilience, and move forward stronger. Intention ensures that nothing is wasted, that even hardship becomes part of a bigger story. Without it, problems just feel like suffering. With it, problems become stepping stones towards strength. Another power of intention is how it shapes your priorities. When you live without intention, you let urgency dictate your life. You spend your days putting out fires, responding to whatever screams loudest, and by the end of the day, you wonder why you're exhausted but unfulfilled. Intention flips that script. It makes you proactive instead of reactive. You start the day by deciding what matters most, and you structure your time to reflect that. Instead of being pulled by distraction, you guide yourself with clarity. That's how you take back control of your time and energy, and that's how you make sure your days add up to the life you want. Intention also strengthens your relationships. When you interact without intention, conversations become surface level, time together becomes routine, and connections weaken. But when you bring intention into how you show up for others, everything changes. You listen with empathy instead of just waiting for your turn to speak. You give your full attention instead of half your focus. You express appreciation instead of assuming people know how you feel. These small intentional acts turn ordinary interactions into moments of depth and connection, and those moments create bonds that truly last. Living with intention means taking ownership of your choices. Too many people blame circumstances, other people, or luck for where they are in life. They drift without direction and then wonder why they feel stuck. Intention removes excuses. It reminds you that even if you can't control everything, you can control how you respond, what you focus on, and how you spend your time. That level of ownership is liberating because it puts the power back in your hands. Instead of waiting for life to happen to you, you begin shaping life with every intentional choice you make. The ripple effect of intention is enormous. When you live with purpose, gratitude, discipline, and awareness, people around you notice. You inspire them not through what you say, but through how you live. Your clarity becomes contagious. Your energy becomes magnetic. Your example reminds others that they too can live with more meaning. That influence is part of what transforms your ordinary days into extraordinary ones, not just because of what you gain, but because of the positive impact you create. And perhaps the greatest gift of intention is peace. When you live without it, you constantly feel pulled in 1,000 directions, always busy but never satisfied, always moving but never arriving. But when you live with intention, there's a calm certainty in your actions. You don't have to guess every decision because you know it aligns with your values. You don't waste energy chasing what doesn't matter because you're focused on what does. You don't look back with regret over wasted time because you've chosen to live deliberately. That peace is what elevates your life, making every day not just something you survive, but something you cherish and honor.